This is CBC Here and Now.
There's concern over some brazen break-ins on Bell Island.
They even went as far as take their garbage container and their hamper and their toothbrush holder.
I grew up in Toronto without a security system, and now I'm pricing the biggest security systems that companies have to offer.
I'm Terry Roberts. We'll have that story coming up.
The head of the union representing correctional officers says the staffing shortage at HMP has gotten worse.
Absolute disrespect for frontline workers.
What that means for inmates and guards, coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Heather Gillis in for Carolyn Stokes. Now to our top story. She was hoping to return to her roots with her husband and young son, leaving the big city for a quiet life on Bell Island. But Ashley Mercer didn't get the welcome she'd hoped for. Here and Now's Terry Roberts explains.
The dark side of life here on Bell Island is revealing itself in places like this. This home has been unoccupied for years, located next door to the RCMP detachment, and now it's set to welcome another family. But before they even moved in, their belongings still in boxes, it became a target for thieves.
I grew up in Toronto without a security system, and now I'm pricing the biggest security systems that companies have to offer when I live on an island that has a smaller population than my high school.
Ashley Mercer's great-grandfathers worked in the mine here before they closed. Growing up in Toronto, she visited here often with her parents.
I thought it was the most beautiful place in the world.
After Ashley and her husband Darrell had a son, they decided their future was in Newfoundland. They purchased this house last spring, started renovating. Then last month, before spending a single night, thieves stole all their tools, some small appliances, even took food from the pantry, all within a stone's throw of the RCMP.
I may regret Bell Island.
They were all smiles when they arrived in Newfoundland, the first time Benson saw his new island home. But all that enthusiasm has been replaced by stress and second guessing.
In the back of our mind, it's like, could we even sell the house? Could we go home? Like, is it what we thought it was going to be?
I think it's the drug situation and people want drugs.
It's one of the two break-ins in recent weeks that has everyone here on edge. Bill Burke's seasonal residence in nearby Lance Cove. Almost all its contents gone.
They even went as far as take their garbage container and their hamper and their toothbrush holder.
They even scrapped his quad. Burke's been told that Bell Island residents are buying up his stolen property.
That's the bigger, I think, disappointing part of it, that the community is supporting this.
Police say there has not been a surge in crime, but these two brazen break-ins have hit the island community hard.
We have some information on some people who were involved, so we're following up with that.
But in order to put a stop to it, investigators need help.
I think the public knows who they are, and that's why we're really urging people to come to us so that we can help the community and we can help the people.
Meanwhile, despite being targeted, the victims of these latest crimes are not giving up on Bell Island.
Still be proud to go to Bell Island.
I've never experienced such kind people in my life.
This is a very delicate issue. Even town leaders were reluctant to talk to me today. They do not want this negative spotlight on their island. They're fiercely proud of what they have here, and they want more people like Ashley Mercer to move here. But at the same time, people here tell me they're fed up with the crime, with the drugs, and they want it to stop. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Town of Wabana.
St. John's has lost another historic building. Bryn Mawr Cottage on New Cove Road was destroyed by fire this morning. And as the CBC's Ryan Cook reports, a lengthy dispute over the future of the property is now settled.
Just before 3 a.m., a taxi driver spotted flames coming from the historic Baird Cottage, also known as Bryn Mawr. By the time the firefighters arrived, they found this. Years of public petitions, impassioned pleas, and legal battles to save this vacant home fell by the wayside.
It's sad because, this structure here has been certainly, I guess, the center of controversy now for many, many years. And to see something that's probably over 100 years old totally demolished, it's unfortunate.
Bryn Mawr was built in 1907 for the merchant Baird family. In better days, it looked like this. But after today, there's nothing left. That's heartbreaking for the remaining members of the Baird family who grew up around this house.
I'm very disappointed to see what happened. I know we haven't been involved with it for a lot of years, but it was designated at one point as a heritage structure, and if it's designated as something like that, it'd be, they should put some effort into preserving it instead of letting it deteriorate over, I don't know how many years it's been empty.
The home was sold to KMK Capital in 2014. They planned to demolish the house, but the city slapped a heritage designation on it, essentially stopping it from being torn down. It ended up in court, with the Supreme Court dismissing the lawsuit last year.
So now they can develop it, I guess, if they want to, but I don't know if that's the right way to approach something like this. But, that's past my control now.
A lot of people today are wondering how this could have happened and if there was more that could have been done to protect this home. And those questions are being directed towards the city. Are there any regrets today about that decision, knowing that that property just sat empty for years?
I voted for that in 2015, and I'd voted for it again today. I think we made the right decision. If we didn't, it would have been torn down in 2015.
KMK Capital had no comment today. The RNC is now investigating the cause of the fire. Chris Baird knows there will probably be a development here, but he'd like to see it become a park.
The chance of it happening is probably a bit scarce, but I would like to see that. But
it'd be a nice way to honor your family too, I guess.
It's wishful thinking probably, but it would be, yes. And it's been here for so long.
Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
To other news now, the finance minister says 96% of the cost of living relief checks are on the way. Hundreds of thousands of citizens in Newfoundland and Labrador will receive them. Siobhan Cody says the $500 checks that she and Premier Andrew Furey first announced in October are now in the hands of Canada Post. She warns there may be delays for anyone who filed their 2021 income taxes late. Cody says anyone with questions about their check can call 1-877-729-6376 for help.
We have about 96% of checks already in the mail. So that's 378,000 of the 392,000 checks are already in the mail. That's very good news. People should be receiving them now. We want to thank the civil service, the public service, who've worked so diligently and hard in very short order to get these checks in the mail.
Meanwhile, the Progressive Conservatives continue to criticize the program, which is expected to cost about $194 million. Interim leader David Brazel says the one-time relief measure won't be enough for many citizens.
I want to know what they're going to do in February when people can't fill up their oil tanks, when senior citizens and the most vulnerable can't do that, when they're making a decision between medication and between food and heat because the cost of living has increased dramatically.
In Labrador, ice buildup and bad weather have taken down nearly 24 utility poles in the Red Bay area. More than 200 customers in southern Labrador and the Straits are affected. In an update this afternoon, MHA Lisa Dempster said it may be a couple of days before crews are able to restore power. She's urging residents to check on their neighbors. Labrador Grenfell Health is asking anyone in that area with an emergency to call 911 directly and not the local clinic.
Well, when it comes to the weather, this is the closest station, Blanc-Sablon, 0 degrees right now. So we are seeing this onshore flow along with the potential for some drizzle. So obviously, as the temperatures are hovering around the 0 degree mark, they are up along the coast. In fact, they're cooling. We're seeing some of that freezing drizzle that we've been talking about, or at least the potential for drizzle, freezing on the poles, and that's what's causing that weather. It seems like the poles, rather, in and along the strait. Now, this will continue as we head through the night tonight. That's because that pattern hasn't changed much, and we're also going to see those temperatures dipping. So what's going on right now is that area of high pressure over Greenland in place very strongly, along with a trough. Stationary front, in fact, in behind that, lots of cold air, but out ahead of it as we see that onshore flow, that drizzle very much continuing for a number of areas, and we're going to see that continue tonight. Once this cold air starts to move further east and sink south, temperatures will drop this weekend. I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Now to Her Majesty's Penitentiary, where there are renewed concerns for the safety of inmates and staff. It comes on the heels of yet another scathing report on the province's correctional system. The CBC's Ariana Kelland has this story.
It's quiet outside of Her Majesty's Penitentiary today, but sources and the leader of the union representing correctional officers says not all is well inside.
These are people that are here for prolonged periods of time, and if you're told now that you can't have visitation, you can't see your children, you can't see them, family, you can't have recreation time, that is, like I said, a pressure cooker.
A pressure cooker without the staff to manage it. Earl says that's left the dwindling number of guards doing forced overtime, sometimes for 24-hour-long periods. So short-staffed, he says, that a training program for correctional officers has recently been postponed again.
You can only go so long working physically exhausted, working prolonged periods, working short.
Sources say things like recreation and visitation is often canceled because there are simply not enough correctional officers to facilitate it. And that is creating a palpable tension. The province's citizens representative is feeling it too. That office is seeing a jump in the number of complaints from adult corrections, the vast majority from Her Majesty's Penitentiary. Since August, 70% of the calls the office receives has been from inmates or their families. That's up from 40 to 50%. In November, 62 calls alone, 19 of those about access to medical care. The Department of Justice says it tries to make programming available to inmates, but sometimes those programs are postponed. The Justice Minister wouldn't do an interview.
What I'm even concerned is that the frontline officers can't get time with the minister. Kudos to the previous ministers. When Minister Parsons was there, myself and him had regular conversations. I still have his personal cell phone number. When Minister Crocker was there, we had regular meetings and discussed concerns. This minister has not met with his officers because he's ultimately responsible for them. It's on the Department of Justice, and he has not met with the union that represents them since he's been in office. That shows an absolute total disrespect.
In a statement, the department says the minister is open to a meeting and is not aware of multiple meeting requests and none specifically related to corrections. Meanwhile, it says dozens of new correctional officers have been hired, with more beginning in the new year. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
There's another unplanned fuel price change to tell you about tonight. The Public Utilities Board lifted its seasonal price freeze in Labrador. That means the cost of gas there is down by nearly 20 cents a litre in many areas. For the rest of the province, the price decreased by nearly 8 cents a litre overnight. Regular self-serve gas now costs $1.52 on the Avalon Peninsula. Diesel, furnace and stove oil, they're also down between 11 and 14 cents a litre. And you may have noticed the price of a Christmas tree has grown this year. Not only are they more expensive, but across the country, trees are sparse. And it's another example of how inflation continues to sap your wallet. Here now, Sarah Antle embarked on a trip to check out prices.
Inflation has been a needle in your side all year, but now it's even coming for the Christmas trees.
What about this one down along?
Like everyone has noticed, I'm sure, the price of everything has increased over the last couple of years.
How much for this one? 132 plus that. 132 plus
Oh my Lord, man, no wonder it's a better trade. And no, I'm not paying that for it, no.
Hi, my name's Amy, and we are currently at Leicester's Farm Market at 173 Brookville Road. For over a decade, we've been getting trees in from Nova Scotia. Each year we get in about 600 trees. Right now we're after selling, I'd say, a little over 400. So of course, like anything else, the prices of trees have gone up slightly. The cost of fertilizer has gone up to grow the trees. Of course, they have to be transported here. Our smallest trees, so the 7 to 8 foot trees, just had a $9 increase. So to some that may be, a large increase. But, we work with what we're given.
What'd you end up paying for this tree today?
$78. But I don't usually buy a Christmas tree. I usually got my own, right? But the wife is pretty particular, so she likes them thick.
Well, Lester's Farm is a pretty big player in the Christmas tree game, but let's see how it's affecting the little guy.
Gerard Kavanagh, and I'm from Flatrock. Selling Christmas trees, 40 odd years.
Right here in the same spot?
Here and over in the next parking lot.
And where do you get your Christmas trees? The same spot every year?
We get a government permit and we cut on Crown land, right?
And have you had to change your prices at all?
Yeah, well, with the price of gas and everything, you drives the price of everything up, right? Small tree is around 20 to 25 now, right? And it used to be 10, right? The further you got to go and the bigger the tree, that determines the price, right? So if you got to travel a long ways, then you got $40 or $50 for the gas. Someone got to pay for it. Got to come out of something, right?
Do you cut your own Christmas tree every year?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, very particular with that.
It's not just trees around St. John's that have grown in price. At C&C Christmas Trees in Lewisport, longtime tree farmer Marilyn Kindon used to charge $60 to $65 for an average tree. Now, it's up to $75. And this is the first year in a long time that she isn't trucking trees to St. John's. With the price of gas, it's just not worth the trip.
I don't know. It's like everything else now. Everything has gone to hell. Hey, what do? You got to have it, and you got to have the right one. If not, you're in trouble.
I've been trying to find my way out of this Christmas tree inflation, but I'm stumped. It's just going to take a little more green to bring one of these home this year. For CBC, I'm Sarah Antle.
Merry Christmas!
Well, it was a magical day for Labrador Morning's annual turkey drive in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 75 turkeys were dropped off to our CBC radio colleagues in the Big Land, and more than $5,400 was raised to go toward hampers and gifts for those in need. The hampers will be distributed in the Lake Melville area starting next week. Longtime volunteer Paula Daw says families are struggling to make ends meet.
The need this year is greater than ever. I see families struggling that never had to struggle before. The cost of food has gone up so much. There are restrictions on what a child can bring into the school because of allergies and that. And we have a lot of families struggling. Really good families take wonderful care of their children. But when you go to the supermarket and every time you walk through the door, different products have increased. Maybe it might be 3 cents, 5 cents, but as it goes up, it means that if you're on a very fixed income, you've got to be very careful about how you're spending your money to try to feed your family. And I think that this is a way we in the community can reach out and make sure that no child wakes up on Christmas morning without something to eat and without something to play with.
Meanwhile, a dance program in Central Labrador is giving young people a sense of community. The National Ballet School of Canada also hopes to get rural and remote dancers thinking about ballet as a career. The CBC's Heidi Adder has more.
5, 6.
On this stage at the Lawrence O'Brien Arts Centre, toddlers to teenagers come to dance their hearts out. These participants, especially the teens, say they feel happiness and joy moving under the lights.
No matter how hard you try, you'll never be perfect, so there's always something to work towards.
Having that space to not be perfect is one of the reasons they want to be here.
As a person who has a lot of problems fitting in, it makes me feel comfortable to express myself and to make mistakes.
Williams Ford says social media and modern technology document everything, especially mistakes. She believes it's important to have a space like this to work through bumps in the road in a positive way.
I think it's important for young people to have that safe space because not everybody does, and it helps us develop into kind people.
Williams Ford is one of the teenagers who hopes to dance professionally in the future.
That's an amazing dream that I wish to accomplish, to go to a ballet school.
The National Ballet School of Canada is working to make that easier. The school is now including Zoom auditions for people in rural and remote regions like Labrador.
To be able to reach through technology like Zoom, to be able to reach those areas, for me personally, I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I think it just broadens our scope.
Payne grew up in the small community of Cowhead on the Northern Peninsula before moving to Corner Brook. He knows personally how small towns can produce great dancers. If these dancers in Labrador don't get through their first auditions, Payne says they shouldn't be discouraged.
it can be disappointing in the moment, but you absolutely need to pick yourself back up and go, no, this is what I truly want to do, and I'm going to keep going.
And while some of these dancers still need to finish high school before auditioning, prospective professionals can register online at the National Ballet School of Canada's website. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
Since then, the CBC Cookie Committee has been hard at work deliberating.
The great CBC Cookie Bake-Off. CBC hosts are putting their culinary skills to the test this holiday season. We'll tell you about that shortly.
That means I have my work cut out for me this weekend. The good news is it's going to feel a little more Christmassy. There's a bit of snow in the forecast. I'll get into the details coming up.
Welcome back. So actually we've had a long week of rain, drizzle, and fog. What's going to happen next?
Yeah, well, it's looking a little bit more Christmassy in a little sense. It's not like a whole bunch of snow on the way, but we are looking at some cooler temperatures, which is good considering it's been fairly mild. Take a look at the temperatures this afternoon out there. 3 degrees in St. John's, 4 in Cape Ray, 6 in Marystown. That was a hot spot across the province. And you can see that cold air that I've been telling you about all week moving in to Lab City down. In fact, it was very cold last night. -27 was the overnight low, and topped out at -15 today. So taking a look at what's going on, we've got this ridge of high pressure to the west. That's another blocking ridge that will move in, but it's going to bring some cold air in behind it. So this stationary front is actually the difference between, well, some of this is a cold front, but for the most part, let's just say it's the difference between the warm air, relatively speaking, to the east, and then the colder air to the west. So that's in the process of moving in at the moment. You can already see those temperatures down to -19 in Lab City, -18 in Churchill Falls, and -10 in Nain right now. Those temperatures still very much above zero for the most part for at least eastern Newfoundland, 3 degrees in St. John's, but you're hovering around the 0-degree mark in Badger and Gander, and then again along coastal areas of Labrador as well as the Northern Peninsula, hovering around the 0-degree mark in St. Anthony. So as we head through the weekend, we're looking at this cold air really into Saturday, working its way across the Big Land, sinking south towards the Northern Peninsula, the west coast through your Saturday, and then eventually through Central as we get into Sunday. Now the temperatures are also going to dip after, daytime highs between 2, 3, 4 degrees. For the eastern portion of the island, the temperatures are going to dip below zero Saturday night and into Sunday, and that will generally continue for most areas. But that means that the wet pavement that we've been seeing might get a little icy through the overnight on Saturday into early Sunday morning. There's a chance of some flurries as well. So just keep that in mind. I don't think it's going to be totally ice covered, but there still could be some patchy icy conditions. So definitely keep that in mind. You might want to have the salt handy this weekend. Taking a look at what's going on right now, not a whole lot as far as the radar is concerned, but we do have lots of cloud cover for the pretty much across the board, but some of that higher cloud working its way through central areas of Labrador as well as the coast, but we're keeping an eye on this broad area of low pressure at the moment. It's a giant system, but that is going to strengthen as we head through the weekend. And in fact, going to bring some high seas as we head through the weekend, particularly Sunday morning, and that will combine with some high tides. We could be talking about some surf somewhere between 4 to as much as 6 meters through the day on Sunday, and that will generally continue even as we head into at least the first half of Monday. So definitely keep that in mind. Taking a look at what's going on near term though tonight, that snow still a story through central and coastal areas of Labrador as we head through the night tonight. Otherwise, that onshore flow continuing, more patchy drizzle and fog the story tonight, and then again with those temperatures dipping, we could see some freezing drizzle in the mix and even some flurries making their way into the forecast overnight tonight for northern peninsula as well as parts of central and western Newfoundland, and then all along coastal areas of Labrador, where you could pick up some snow. Now, as far as tomorrow is concerned, those temperatures will be in the single digits, just barely, for the eastern half of the island, and then starting to dip into some of that cooler air towards the west coast as you see your temperatures between -2 and -4. And again, you're looking at that potential for a few flurries in the mix. Winds a bit brisk out of the north, between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Up across Labrador, your temperatures well where they should be sitting, -16 in Lab City, lots of sunshine to enjoy the snow that you've been seeing over the last couple of days. But coastal areas are looking at your temperatures between -8 and -9 through the day, and again with that chance of some flurries. So let's look at your Saturday forecast. Sunday looks a lot like Saturday. I'll get into the details coming up.
This year, we're connecting more, we're sharing more, and we're helping more. This season, whatever kind of season you make the season kind.
And CBCNL has been on the hunt for the ultimate Christmas cookie. You may have heard about our cookie championship. Emphasis on the chip. Think Canada Reads, but with baking. It's the ultimate cookie contest curated by you, our viewers. And the competitions and the ovens are going to heat up this weekend when my colleagues try whipping up some of your holiday favorites. Let's meet the competitors.
So I'm going to be making Maryland Best's Aero Bar Squares. It's got everything. It's got chocolate, it's got coconut, it's got sweetened condensed milk. I'm told that there are fights over the last one, so I don't think it's going to be a fight as to which recipe is best.
My cookies are from Rexine Martin of Bon Bay. She has a gluten-free cinnamon sugar cookie. We're using coconut flour instead of regular flour. Looks good. Hopefully it turns out.
Hi, I've got a recipe from St. John's. It's from Scott Schillereff. It's the Holiday Hermit Cookie. I think it may have been actually named after Anthony Germain. But anyways, it looks great. According to Scott, you won't be able to eat just one. It's great on its own or with ice cream. And just looking, we've got everything from nutmeg, raisins, dried cranberries, pecans, and chocolate chips. Can't go wrong, and I think I'm going to win with this recipe.
I think of all the hosts, I have the biggest cookie challenge, thanks to Barbara Crawford of Happy Valley Goose Bay. She submitted an amazing recipe, a classic recipe that combines two great Christmas things, cookies and fruitcake. Yes, fruitcake. So that's my challenge, and the recipe looks fantastic, and what I really like is she makes them only at Christmas, but every now and then she makes a special batch for her husband. And with that matrimonial love, I am going to channel that into my baking and make the best cookie in this contest. Watch it.
Sandy Hollett, I got your recipe. So to me, this looks like not just the winning recipe among the hosts, but actually this one is going to win the popular vote. It's got 3 ingredients. It's actually a heritage CBC recipe, and her grown children still get her to make this every single year. 3 ingredients: Skor bars, condensed milk, Ritz crackers. We got this.
Hadi Gonim is originally from Egypt. He moved to St. John's a few years ago. This Christmas, he's very happy to be Santa. So happy, he's doing cartwheels.
Welcome back. A volunteer effort that began as a way to use leftover fabric is now providing warmth and comfort for Ukrainians far away from their homes and families. Here and Now's Amanda Gear has that story.
These new quilts are gifts to Ukrainians in St. John's as a part of a community project. 30 to 40 different pairs of helping hands pitched in to make these quilts, and it took 8 to 10 people approximately 30 hours to craft each one.
Making quilts is what we like to do the best. Giving them to people that truly appreciate them and will enjoy them is the other joy that we feel.
The Association for New Canadians partnered with East Coast Quilt Co. for the project. The company enlisted help from its customers, asking them to donate a strip of their leftover fabric. A volunteer designed a pattern that the quilters could easily follow to make the quilts. So far, 14 have been made.
Welcome to East Coast Quilt Co. We're really excited today to be presenting the final works of a project that we took on as a community effort. We enlisted the help of our clients to provide us with a strip of their backing fabric after we long-armed their quilt. And then this was all Colleen's inspiration. She designed a quilt pattern that used all of these strips of fabric, and we had volunteers come and sew.
Just a wonderful effort to try and bring people together and help some people, in our case here with the Association for New Canadians, really just welcoming them to Canada with a nice warm hug.
The quilters aren't only making a kind gesture toward newcomers, they are also doing good for the environment by using fabric that would have ended up in the landfill.
Taking things out of the landfill is a big part of it. What's a 2.5-inch strip of fabric that's, however long it may be. A lot of times, because people can't envision what they're going to do with that scrap, it ends up going into the garbage or into the landfill. And we really wanted to reduce that effect and show people, like everybody that's done the quilts as part of the volunteer group have learned a quilt pattern that they can now use at home to create quilts using their scraps. And then you diversify it, you make the scraps a little smaller, a little bigger, and so it's also diverting a lot of waste.
Natalia Boyko moved here from Ukraine. She and her family arrived in June. They'll be getting one of those quilts.
I just want to say big thank you, and we really appreciate what you're doing for us, for our community, for all the Ukrainians who are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And their work isn't done yet. The quilters say they are still collecting fabric because they plan to make many more. Amanda Gear, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, I'm here at the Lantern on Barnes Road for a very special event that's happening here tomorrow. We're going to tell you all about that. And joining me is Hadi Gonim. You're originally from Egypt, right?
I am from Egypt, yeah.
So growing up in Egypt, what did you learn or know about Santa?
I didn't know much about Santa, besides like the movies and Hollywood and stuff like that. So my information about him was very limited. So I had to do my research and study the elves and reindeers and their names and stuff like that.
Okay, so you've become very educated in Santa and the tradition. So you're doing something special, something you've never done before, I assume.
Yeah, I have stepped out of my comfort zone for sure. I have fought on the national stage, kickboxing, and this is way much more anxiety-provoking than getting punched in the face, I can tell you that.
So what will you be doing tomorrow?
I'm gonna try to spread joy and try to spread positivity and try to show the kids that Santa can come in all shapes, sizes, and colors and ethnicities, and just try to show that you can be whoever you want to be if you put in the work and stuff like that.
One of our board directors is a good friend of his, and she thought of him instantly when we were looking for a Santa that's a person of color. He is really enthusiastic, charismatic, great with children. And after talking with him on the phone for a short time, he was a shoo-in, essentially. He was perfect for the job.
Why was this important for your organization?
Well, some of the members that we support through Mothers of Avalon are people of color, are immigrants to Canada, and we really believe that representation matters. Santa does not look the same in different cultures all around the world, and these people deserve to feel included, and these children need to have that connection to such an important childhood figure.
I want to show the kids that Santa can come in all shapes and sizes and colors and ethnicities, and I want to show that as a community we can come together, not only celebrate our commonalities but also our differences, and celebrate who we are and become part of this community and embrace the culture that we live in.
Are you nervous? I mean, having an audience of children can be, trust me, children are the tough audience, as anybody who deals with kids knows. Are you a bit nervous about this?
Honestly, I'm not nervous about the kids. I'm really good with kids. I'm very fun and ongoing and stuff like that, but I'm nervous about the whole situation, but I think I'm gonna do great. I think I have really good support from my elves and my reindeer, so I think I'm gonna do really good.
So what's going to be happening here tomorrow, apart from Hattie? Obviously, you've got a whole bunch of people coming here, I imagine.
Yeah, so this is a fundraiser. It's a market, a holiday market. We have lots of amazing vendors, artists, craftspeople, jewelers. We'll have coffee, baked goods, tarot card readings, face painting, live music, and an Elsa from Frozen are coming. So it's going to be a really good time.
And in the event a child asks you tomorrow, hey, that Santa looks different to me.
Yeah.
How would you explain that to a child?
Yeah, we've thought about this. Santa's magic, and Santa can look any way that he wants to look, and he's chosen to look this way today to represent our community.
So Anthony, I would like to show you something.
Sure.
This is my first Christmas ornament, and I celebrated Christmas for the first time in 2018 with a Newfoundland family, and I would like to see all the kids come tomorrow and celebrate with us, and hopefully I make their Christmas good too.
I feel so proud looking at our brown Santa dressed up. He looks fantastic, and we're super happy about it.
And once again, the people who are going to benefit from this event tomorrow, who are they?
They're the struggling parents and caregivers in our community. So we're doing a lot of good work by trying our best to support them. So if you can make it down to this event, it will make a huge difference to us.
All right, thank you very much, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. Thank you.
Well, we told you a little earlier about some virtual ballet auditions happening in Labrador. Next, we'll find out what kind of questions those aspiring dancers have for people who do ballet for a living. Well, as you saw a little earlier, the National Ballet School of Canada is hoping to find more dancers in rural and remote parts of our country, and it's reaching out to places like Labrador to do it. We got some young dancers in Labrador to ask their biggest ballet questions, and they put them to some of the pros.
What makes a good dancer?
For me, it's passion. Absolutely. There's definitely a technical skill set that we're learning. But at the end of the day, all that work and the learning of all that technical skill set should never cover up why you're doing it. And for me, the development of classical ballet certainly requires a lot of technique. But at the end of the day, that technique is meant to support your love of moving.
How do you pick your dancers? Like, what's the determining factor of who gets in and who doesn't?
Well, obviously through the audition circuit. So whether it be on Zoom or in person, that's our first stage audition. And from there, we'll go into our second stage audition. So if we accept you from the first, we'll invite you to the summer school. And that gives us a chance to really get to know you as well. So sometimes, one class doesn't really sum up who you are as a person or an artist. So then the second stage audition will come through the summer program, and that really gives us a chance to get to know you.
If I were to talk to a professional dancer, I would like to ask them what kind of difficulties that they face in their career and how did they overcome them?
So I think the first one that comes to mind, physical injury. So obviously it's a high-end athletic art form. It's not quite a sport, but it requires a huge demand on the body. So things are bound to break down. We're bound to get injuries. And I think those can be challenging, especially your first couple. But injuries for a dancer are also highly educational. And oftentimes, myself included, I've had injuries that I've come back stronger.
How would you prepare for an audition?
My first recommendation is a good night's sleep. Definitely. Put your cell phone down for a second and then just go to bed. So a good night's sleep, highly recommended. If it's in person, pack your dance bag the night before. Make sure you have 2 of everything. And always have a little bit of a snack. A few snacks in your bag is good because sometimes it can be long days. And water. Always have water with you. Get to your auditions early enough so you give yourself time to warm up. And then just make sure that you breathe and show your personality when you start.
Happy 59th anniversary to Rhoda and Garland Parsons of Norris Point, who celebrated on December 5th. Ward and Bet Wellman of Fort Tow, Labrador celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary on the 8th of December. Happy 53rd anniversary to Linda and Randall Manning of Corner Brook. Greetings from your family. Happy 54th wedding anniversary to Linda and John Gillett of Twillingate. Ralph and Olive Fudge of Lewisport celebrate their 70th wedding anniversary. That's tomorrow on Saturday, December 10th. Happy 64th wedding anniversary to Jim and Rena O'Driscoll from Carbonear, who are celebrating on December 8th. Ed and Jean Noseworthy celebrate their 56th wedding anniversary on December 10th. That's tomorrow. Happy 69th wedding anniversary to Netta and Martin Rideout of Twillingate, also celebrating tomorrow. Byrne and Marilyn Park of Cox's Cove celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary tomorrow on December 10th. Wishing Raymond and Eileen Blundell of Clarenville, formerly of Hickman's Harbour, a very happy 65th wedding anniversary today. Happy anniversary to Gordon and Minnie Osmond, who will celebrate 51 years married tomorrow. Peter and Linda Bennett of Bishop's Falls celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. That was yesterday. On to some birthdays now. Florence Baldwin of Jackson's Arm celebrated her 100th birthday on December 7th. Violet Newhook of New Harbour, formerly of Fogo Island, will be 92 years young tomorrow on Saturday. Happy 93rd birthday to Frank Pinsent of Grand Falls, Windsor. Muriel Pickett of Centerville celebrated her 98th birthday on Saturday, December 3rd. That was last weekend. Rosie Miller was born on Burnett Island, Fortune Bay, and then she moved to Fortune, is now living with her daughter and son-in-law in St. John's. She turned 96 years old yesterday and is still very active at home, we're told. William Dwyer of Carbonear celebrated his 95th birthday on Wednesday. Happy 90th birthday to Catherine Lynch, formerly of Outer Cove, now residing at Tiffany Village. Celebrating on Sunday, December 11th. Happy birthday to Bertha Payne, who lives in Cowhead. Happy birthday to Ruth Hiscock, who celebrated her 94th on December 7th, formerly from St. Chad's, now residing in Orm's Birchview Manor in Glovertown. Happy 95th birthday to Minnie Randall on Friday, December 9th, formerly of Winterbrook. Now she resides at Hillcrest Estates in Mount Pearl. Happy 91st birthday to Martha Smith of Brookside, Placentia Bay. Happy 100th birthday to this lady. She's a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother. That's Mary Lockyer. She's still living at home in Garden Clove, Placentia Bay. And birthday wishes to Shirley Patricia Lundergan, who celebrates her 93rd birthday today. She's currently living at Winslow Ridge Retirement Home in St. John's. Happy birthday to Melvine Hutchings of Spaniards Bay, who will turn 103. That's on Sunday, December 11th. And finally, happy 93rd birthday to Elizabeth Lizzie Dobbin from Little Bay. And wishing each and every one of you a happy birthday and anniversary. I hope you enjoy yourself over the next little while. Yeah, so Ashley, we've had a lot of rain, drizzle, fog this week. Getting a little Christmassy. Everyone's starting to get in the spirit. Is this rain, drizzle, and fog going to dry up anytime soon?
Yeah, we're 2 weeks away from Christmas. Yeah, it does look like that, actually. In fact, we've got some flurries in the forecast. Finally.
Excellent.
Let's take a look at what's going to happen Saturday night into Sunday. We're going to see that flurry activity now along the northeast coast through the day on Sunday. Likely not accumulating to too much, but we're watching this system because it's going to bring some snow to parts of Labrador as we head through the afternoon. It's retrograding, and that means that it's moving instead of west to east. It's moving east to west, so it's actually coming onshore. It does mean, though, right along the shore, we'll likely see this fall as drizzle or at least mix with some rain. But temperatures overall we'll keep that, especially away from the coast and in the higher elevations, as snow through the day on your Sunday, and some heavy snow at times as well up through northern portions of Labrador. Temperatures will be around 2 degrees for Nain, so that's why we'll likely see this fall as some drizzle towards the coast. But otherwise, temperatures will sit into the minus single digits. -6 in Cartwright, -11 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Along the Strait, same thing. but temperatures right across the board in the across the island will sit somewhere between -1 and -8 through the day. So feeling more wintry. In fact, but it does look like we'll see the sun through central and along the south coast, which is finally some nice news. So through the evening hours on Sunday and into Monday, this is when the snow will likely get heaviest along coastal areas. We're talking about the potential for 20 to 30 centimeters of snow. It'll also be combined with some fairly gusty winds. So overall conditions will be reduced visibilities through the day on Monday, and then we'll see that snow work its way back towards Lab West as well into the afternoon hours, and eventually continue to affect Lab West as we head towards the afternoon, like I said. As far as the island goes, temperatures are going to be in the minus single digits yet again. However, we'll flirt with the 0 degree mark or a little bit above for eastern areas of the island, particularly in St. John's, hovering around 1 degree. Otherwise, mid-minus single digits pretty much for the rest of the island, except along the south coast where you'll sit between -1 and -2 through the day. And then temperatures still above 0 for northern Labrador as we see that warmer air move in. But again, you're going to see that snow through the day. Taking a look at the long range forecast, we'll get back up above 0 as we get into Monday, and then rather stay that way as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday, as those temperatures hover around 4 degrees. Still looking at the chance of showers or flurries in the mix. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at your temperatures dipping dramatically Sunday, Monday, but then right back up between 3 and 4 degrees for your Tuesday and Wednesday. We're looking at a similar warm up for western Newfoundland between 2 and 3 degrees. However, it is looking a bit more like snow for you. Now for eastern Labrador, after Monday, looking at flurries Tuesday and Wednesday, and then similar forecast for western Labrador. A roller coaster ride for you. Take a look at that. -8, -3, -10, and then back to -3 for your Wednesday. Now this is everything but, or anything but, I should say, Christmassy along the south coast. This shot is from Deadman's Cove. Believe it was the end of November, but near Harbour Breton. Thank you so much to Laura for that great shot. And if you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
And that looks purely tropical.
It sure does.
Far away from that in our weather, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Well, that is it for this evening, for this Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Good night.